It is coming up now on 619, Acadiana's Morning News. Bernadette Lee, Ian Ozan with you on Acadiana's Morning News. We made it to the middle of the week, sir.
We did. I have to ask, though, how's your knee?
Okay, it's better.
Good.
But I don't know if people heard that thump, but did
I don't
you
know if they
see
did.
my face?
I don't think they heard the thump, but I was wondering if they heard me chuckle a little bit. Because for those of you who don't know, during the middle of the newscast, it was coming out of the second story and into the package intro. You may or may not have heard a thump against the table. Bernie was trying to adjust and trying to switch from computer to computer.
Yeah.
And she hit her knee on the desk. And I'm here, and I thought, okay, she nudged her knee. Then I saw her head go down, and I was like, oh no, she's in pain. And being the great friend that I am, I chuckled, and
that's a good thing.
And
because we're that good of friends.
And thankfully, I was able to stifle it and not laugh on air.
Man, so thanks for checking on me. You know how that is. In the first couple of seconds, you're so stunned because you're like, oh, that hurt. It's going to leave a mark.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. All right, 621 now on Acadiana's Morning News. As promised, City Councilwoman Nanette Cook joining us on the line. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. And Bernie, it sounds like you might need to rearrange your furniture in your office. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think you're right. I might need to, the feng shui thing, maybe I need to read a book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear about that. Yeah.
Well, there was a lot of activity last night. And let's talk a little bit about the committee to kind of protect the city. Who was your appointment? And what do you think about this committee? They got about 6 months to do what some of the things are that you guys were talking about. Thoughts?
Correct. Well, first, I want to thank all the citizens that did submit a resume. I mean, we had some great applicants, and just the fact that those people want to be so engaged with, keeping Lafayette intact is impressive. So I was glad to see that we had a lot of applicants. My original appointment is Jan Swift. She lives in my district. She's been very involved with the community in various capacities, so she has a lot of insight into the city of Lafayette. So that was why I chose her to be my appointment. We added the two new people that were added were Stuart Breaux and Bill Leindecker, and both of them also have some community involvement, also working with the government, and have been very engaged over the last. Since I've been on the council, have been very engaged with us, with the city. So, to me, their efforts of trying to keep the city of Lafayette and the parish intact have been, have been noticed, and I believe there will be great appointments for this particular committee. So that was kind of those were the two people we appointed last night.
Do people ask you an awful lot about this? Because it's been an ongoing issue for at least the last 4 years or so. People are so worried. Are we using taxpayer money in the correct way? Are we getting everything we should for the city, et cetera? It sounds like it's deeply concerning for some folks.
Well, it is, and you're correct. Since I've been on the council now, going on my 6th year, it's been a conversation, and lately more of a conversation based on budgets and allocation formulas, and I feel for the parish. Their budget is tight. They don't have a lot of money, but it's also, the city taxpayer dollars are not being spent, as they should be within the city of Lafayette as compared to the other municipalities. They're able to keep most of their tax dollars, and they have to put some into some of the parish mandates, but not to the extent that the city of Lafayette has to contribute as far as the allocation formula that we have with our consolidation. So it really is time to look at that and see how we can create a fairer system, not trying to bankrupt the parish, but just fair to the city taxpayers of Lafayette.
Nanette, we're only a year and a half, not even 2 years yet removed from the charter issue, from the last vote that we had. Is there some buyer's remorse among members of the current city council who were on the previous council that were in favor of the stop the charter or split the charter movement from 2019?
Well, I was on that previous council, and yes, I did support the charter change. But there is somewhat of a buyer's remorse. It would be a good way to put it, and from the extent that maybe, there were some things that we assumed were worked out, but were not, and we maybe didn't. I'll be the first to tell you, maybe the homework wasn't done 100%. but I still do believe that we're going in the right direction. And this is what that committee is going to help us figure out, is this the direction we want to go all the way? We split the councils, great. But we found out that just by doing that alone does not help with some of the issues that we're still having as far as, allocation formulas for one. So hopefully this committee is being tasked with, in the original resolution, there are several tasks that we have given this committee to look at, several questions, several issues that we want to address. And so I guess, the idea behind this committee is if we look at all those things that they are being asked to look at, from there we can decide, okay, is it a better idea to stay how we are or to deconsolidate? So, a lot of these things maybe, were not done on the front end, but I honestly do in my heart believe that it is the right direction that we're going. And I'm hoping that, this committee can help us confirm that and make the changes that we need to protect the city of Lafayette, as far as the citizens and their tax dollars.
In addition to the budget issues, some of the complaints that Lafayette residents have had and even residents in the parish have had about this new split is the amount of time and the lack of efficiency in split council meetings. So if this committee doesn't propose true deconsolidation or full deconsolidation, is going back to the consolidated council an option?
And honestly, I'm not hearing those complaints, and I'm not seeing those in the meetings. We had a meeting last night that was probably run as efficiently as it could be with just dealing with our agenda. Of course, there's a couple of joint ordinances that are on there, and what we try to do is, of course, we do our homework before these meetings. So if there are any issues that we have on any joint ordinances, that'll be discussed before the meeting so that we have an idea of where we're all going with this. So, I don't find that it's been inefficient to have the separate meetings, and I do find that we can focus more on our issues, that and directly just with the council that we have on the city issues. So, I'm not really seeing that, but I'd love to entertain more conversation on that if people are having concerns about that.
Let's talk a little quickly about the food delivery services, bringing the alcoholic beverages to Lafayette customers. I mean, in the middle of the pandemic, sometimes.
Yeah, in fact, I just saw that alcoholism is up during the pandemic, so maybe that's not a good thing.
Right. I mean, I know.
We're just following, really what the state laws are. We didn't make any major changes in terms of out-of-the-box changes. We did reduce the amount of food that needed to be delivered. So, yeah, I guess you could, as Andy and Alcan said, get those French fries and a six-pack of beer, and you'd be okay. So, but again, we're following the state, requirements as far as any kind of alcohol delivery. And, given the type of permit that the restaurant or the business has, I mean, it does. There are some restrictions on what type of alcohol they can deliver. So, yeah, I don't see it as a problem. I mean, I feel like, if you want alcohol, you're going to get it, whether it's delivered to your house or you go get it. So, well, I don't see that as a major problem. So anyway,
It keeps drunks off the street. At least they have to order food to soak up the alcohol.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's that too.
Yeah,
let's be honest. It's an interesting subject, right?
Yeah. It certainly is.
Right.
One last question, Nanette, before we let you go, and we'll go back a couple of weeks to the emergency mask meeting. At the beginning, you initially supported the mask ordinance, but you changed your mind. Why did you change your mind, and what's your response to some of the national media coverage that entire situation has received?
So you saved the bomb for the end, huh? That's nice. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, you are correct. Glenn Lazard and I have talked about some kind of mask mandate since November. And, I've said this before, we were assured by administration that there was some enforcement happening, at the very beginning. And then, as I did a little more research moving forward to the most current attempt to do a mask mandate, I realized that enforcement is difficult. Enforcement is the challenge that most cities that I've spoken with outside of Lafayette are having as well. And so that became kind of a sticking point with me in terms of how do we enforce this? And looking at the way the ordinance was reading, that the businesses were doing the enforcement. They were going to be doing the policing. I have to tell you, I got calls from several businesses that were not interested and concerned about, look, we're trying to recover from this pandemic with our business. We do not want to have the added burden of having to be the police force in this particular mandate. So, I listened to those constituents. I listened to those business owners, and I had several constituents that did not want this. And really, as Nanette Cook, I sit in that seat and I wear a mask. I believe in the mask. I believe they serve a purpose. I do. But when I sit in that seat, I'm just not Nanette Cook. I am representing my constituents. And when I hear an overwhelming opposition to something that's being put before us, I feel it's my duty to represent those individuals. And then, also right at the last minute, the medical community actually pulled out. And I'm not throwing them under the bus because they have done an awesome job in doing what they can do as far as taking care of the patients. But I was looking for the support of a mandate, and they actually withdrew their support, right before we went into the meeting, in terms of, they suggest and they strongly urge, just like I do, that you wear a mask. But they're not comfortable with a mandate in that fashion either, as far as the enforcement tool. So, there were several factors that went into it, and it breaks my heart to think that, those people that have lost loved ones who were looking for this and really wanted this badly, that we weren't able to deliver this. It does break my heart that that's something that we couldn't do for them. Mm-hmm. But in my heart, I don't think it was going to have that intended effect that it was, proposing to do. I don't think we were going to change behaviors of people that were not wearing masks at this point in the pandemic. We're too far in. And to put that burden on a business, to tell those customers, put a mask or get out, having to deal with that, I just don't think that was a fair burden for them. So, I'll be honest with you, right now we're working on a more positive approach in terms of trying to encourage safety in the community and wearing masks. Along with Josh, we're working with one Acadiana with a group that has created a site called Acadiana Safe. It's a website that we're hoping, and we're working on, by next meeting I can give more details, of putting up a directory for those businesses that are safe in the community. They will call in and tell you that they're following the mandates. And there'll be a link that if you are compromised, that you want to know where you can, travel around in the community safely, you can click on this link and basically find those stores, those businesses that are practicing the governor's, which, by the way, we have a mandate already. We've been under a mandate since July 13th from the governor. So we have one in place. And so there are rules in place. And so these businesses that are following that will be able to link up and so the community can find out where these businesses are if they are concerned about safety. And someone asked, well, how will you know if they're really, really doing it? Trust me, there are enough people in the community traveling around that will let us know if these businesses are not practicing safe.
Yeah.
So, this is something that, in my heart, I'd like to provide, a positive approach to this and again, encouraging people to wear a mask. I can't say that enough. It is your prerogative. I get that. But, I personally wear a mask and believe that it is the one thing that we can do to protect ourselves and others in terms of, making an effort to kind of slow this progress down. And, can I just put this last 2 cents in? By the way, our numbers are down.
Yeah. Thankfully.
Before the meeting, I got a positivity rate of what our numbers were in comparison to, say, Shreveport and Baton Rouge that had already mandates in place. We were at 6.2 positivity rate, while Baton Rouge was at 7.1 and Shreveport was at 8.3. So in my mind, they have mask mandates and we did not. So we're probably doing a better job than we realize in terms of people masking up. So, whether the mask help or not is the big controversy. It's a political thing. I mean, unfortunately, it's been tagged with so many things that if it was simply just put a mask on, respect your neighbor, that kind of thing, it would have been an easy call. So anyway, yeah, that's my short answer to a very loaded question.
No, and it's a good answer, and we dropped a bomb, but you broke news. I do appreciate that with the formation of that committee. One question, though, the 6.8 you mentioned, that positivity rate, to clarify, is that the rate that LDH is supposed to be releasing either today or tomorrow, or is that the rate from last week?
That's the rate from last week. That was
Okay.
a rate that I got from Tina Stefanski.
Mhm.
So I'm not really sure what the current rate is. I'm understanding they're down, but I don't have the actual numbers.
Okay.
Gotcha.
One last question before we go. Since I dropped a bomb on you, I'll give you one that's not so much of a bomb. A couple weeks ago, Wilfred Pierre was honored by the Lafayette City Council for his work both as a councilman and as a legislator. And considering the fact that he has a nephew, a second generation who's serving in government, you as well are a second generation government official. Your father served on the city council. Last night during the parish council meeting, Kevin Nakan had his son on the dais with him. And it's starting to seem like he has an interest in politics. As someone like you, who's a second generation government official, why is it so important for the younger generations, for the next generations to get involved in government, to get involved in public service, and to be involved in their community?
Well, I mean, simply, they're our future. I mean, the next generation is our future, and we need to get them involved so that they take an interest, they take an ownership of their community. That's the only way we're going to keep Lafayette going, like it is, in a positive way. And so, yeah, I mean, getting the young people involved. Yeah, I talk to my kids at school all the time about, look, who, I'll kind of pick a few out, like, oh, I bet you'd be good, you'd be good. So, you're really, it's a way to keep that generation involved, and having, my father was an inspiration to me, of course, which is why I decided to step into this. And so, if you grew up with that, or you saw someone in your family that you respected doing it, that's the first step right there. So, but yeah, we definitely need to keep our young people involved, whether they are, generational or not. We need to keep them involved with our community so they understand the issues, so that they want to step in and help, because it will be their community. We won't be here forever, but they're going to be stepping in next. So yeah, that is crucial to it,
Indeed, without a doubt. Nanette Cook has been joining us. Thank you so much for your time this morning and squeezing us in.
Well, thank y'all so much, and be careful of that furniture, okay?
I'm going to try. It bites, Have a good one, Miss Nanette.
Keep ice on hand for her. She sounds like she might be needing it.
I've got ice. I've got Icy Hot. We've got Myaflex. We've got everything.
Man, Bernie, you are one lucky person right there.
I'm telling you, he's my work husband. He's a great one.
And on occasion, work pharmacist, too, in situations like this.
Yeah, I guess work pharmacist with all that. Have a great day, Miss Nanette.
Thank y'all. Y'all too. Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye. Yeah, you really are a good work husband.
I do what I can.
Yes.
Though with Nanette's answer, going back to the mask
let's
thing,
talk about that a little bit. Yeah.
Some news broken here in case you missed it. Lafayette Consolidated Government, working with several other organizations, one Acadian among them, to start a program where people report what businesses are following the mandate, and they publicize who's following, who's not, to give people an option of where they want to go. And Josh Guillory is fond of saying that don't bring him a problem unless you have a solution. That might be the solution to the problem that we have, not just with masks and enforcement in Lafayette, but also warning people where they can go and be safe, letting them know what to do. And with that answer, I think Nanette Cook and LCG, Lafayette City Council, are onto something good here. And I'm glad to see that the vote 2 weeks ago wasn't the end of it. I didn't think it was the end of it, but I'm glad to see that there is a solution this early on. So kudos to Nanette. Kudos to everybody else involved with that.
And that way, the people that want to look at that can go look at it. And the people that don't care, I mean, I just show up at a business. If I feel uncomfortable, I turn around and leave.
Right.
But I understand, especially if you're asthmatic, you have other lung issues, whatever your case may be, and you want to know before you go. There you go. You'll have a list, a way to look at it.
Absolutely.
All right, it is 6:38.
Already?
Yeah, I don't know where the time went. What we're going to do when we come back is a little thing called Topic Train.
Choo-choo.
Choo-choo. I don't know where that came from.
I'm not sure either. I wasn't sure if you hit your knee.
Bizarre and weird.
I don't know if you hit your knee again and you were just trying to stifle the pain.
Yeah. I embarrassed myself. That was awesome.